This week on the Shameless Podcast.
Digital transformation is not even an option anymore. If we would have this podcast like maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been as mandatory, as important, as necessary as today, because I believe, in my humble opinion, it's not an option anymore. You need to be digital savvy. You need to start your digital transformation, if not already.
I think it's probably important for us to give a background as to when we talk about digital transformation, what is that?
So one of the things that make digital transformation maybe a little bit complex is the definition, right? It's really broad. And if you Google it, you'll see that this is the process of integrating this, and that. It becomes a little bit confusing. But simply put, it's integrating digital technologies into your business. As simple as that.
I love the fact that you have worked across multiple industries, multiple countries, multiple companies. And you said it. You said the struggles worldwide are very similar. You see a lot of the same things.
Yeah, some of the common things are, the pace technology is moving forward. Like with AI, for instance, it's exponentially growing. And we know that startups and small businesses, especially small businesses, are not necessarily equipped to keep up with the pace, because we know small business owners wear so many hats and they're usually doing so many things at the same time. So that's why usually I insist on digital education for leaders, because today it's AI and obviously it's not going anywhere. So we barely scratched the surface of what's possible.
So then, like you said, an owner of a startup has got multiple hats that they wear. How do they then carve out the time to do a sprint?
So we all lack time. Honestly, no matter where you are in your journey of growth, there's not enough hours during the day to do whatever we want to do. So with that being said, I think time blocking is something that works in prioritizing things that need your attention. Even if the benefits are not immediate, sometimes if you block like 20, 30 minutes a day, daily, and going about it with baby steps, it's better than, like focusing on the whole thing. People play a very important role. And when I say people, I'm talking about your team, obviously. And that's why earlier I was talking about digital education, not just for the leader, but for the team as well, because they're the one doing the customer facing. They're the one doing some daily tasks that you're not doing. So their feedback might be even more valuable than some external consultant, because they are the ones doing the work day in and day out.
Sometimes we are afraid to do something. You fear shame. I don't want shame. We're trying to break that burden by sharing stories of courage, resilience, and we want to be able to celebrate your story.
Shameless.
Good day, wonderful people. My name is Dzikamai Gangaidzo, and I'm the host of the Shameless Podcast. And today we're joined with Ines Nasri. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dzikamai.
So I'm exceptionally excited for today's episode, which is the global perspective on digital transformation, navigating disruption, and inspiring change. I was going to ask you were last in Tunisia on an exciting project. And before we go into the exciting project, I want to know, what did you enjoy most about being in Tunisia?
The food. There's no question about it. I'm a real foodie. Wherever I go in the world, I want to try everything, test everything. But the food in Tunisia is definitely, exceptional flavors, spices, all kind of things. So no, seriously, it's meeting people. It's hopefully driving change, adding value, whatever it's possible. But the food is a good thing too, honestly.
And you cannot go anywhere and not enjoy the food and then say that you actually enjoyed the place, right? So I'm going to write that down. Tunisia is food for me. That's what I'm going to be going for.
Add it to your bucket list.
And so in the end, as we discuss the topic for today, which is navigating disruption and inspiring change through digital transformation, I think one of the major things is to understand why. Why is that important? And why are you in this space?
So I help businesses basically, make the most out of digital technologies. This is like the broadest way to present what I do. Obviously, there's much more into that. But the reason why this is becoming important today is digital transformation is not even an option anymore. If we would have this, podcast like maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been like as mandatory, as important, as necessary as today, because I believe, in my humble opinion, it's not an option anymore. You need to be digital savvy. You need to start your digital transformation, if not already. But I honestly think I know in your audience, there's a lot of small businesses and startups. A lot of the small businesses already started somehow, their digital transformation process, even without being intentional about it or even calling it digital transformation. But I think one of the outcomes of our episode today is to be more intentional about it, to structure it, to have some type of blueprint or, some guidance on where to start. And, I believe this is what we're going to be talking about today, what we should be talking.
Exactly. That is exactly what I want to get into. But before we get into that, I think it's probably important for us to, how can I put it, give a background as to when we talk about digital transformation. What is that? What do we typically term as digital? What do we term as transformation? And what do we term as getting ready? Because like you said, some people might actually have already started it and they might not even know.
So yeah, one of the things that make digital transformation maybe a little bit complex is the definition, right? It's really broad. And if you Google it, you'll see that this is the process of integrating this and that. It becomes a little bit confusing. But simply put, it's integrating digital technologies into your business. As simple as that. How and when and where do you start? And this is another thing that we can talk about later. But this is basically thinking digital first, I would say. It's in all the areas of your business, right? It's in your customer experience enhancement. It's even rethinking your business model. It's in automating things. It's in so many areas of the business. It's thinking digital first, I would say, integrating digital technologies in your business. Is that simple enough?
That is simple enough. And actually, I love that. I love the way you say it, because it's not necessarily about having a software or having buying something, right? At the end of the day, using any form of digital application or enhancing your ability to reach to your customers or execute work using a digital platform is the first step. I mean, you're already, just by using your phone, using socials, you are already in the space where you are taking the necessary steps to actually be transformative and transforming your business in that space. Yeah. So I love that. I absolutely, it was simple enough for even me to get it. So I'm more than happy. And so, but then for those people who might not know, and I know that we already sort of touched into the episode, and hopefully that was enough of a teaser to actually have people stay on a bit longer. But for you, Ines, I'm very interested to understand sort of a background about you. Who are you? What have you been doing? Maybe just a little snippet about you. I mean, it'll be before we get into the detail as to, and then this gives people a reason as to, well, she knows what she's talking about.
I'll keep it short because we don't want to make the episode all about me. It's more about educating people and helping them, get where they want to be as fast as in the easiest way possible. So I'm a computer science engineer. I have a master's degree in innovation management and entrepreneurship. And since then, I've been really in the digital space in so many ways. I taught MBA classes, specifically classes about digital transformation, Internet of Things, AR, VR, that kind of thing. I'm also in the digital marketing space. I'm blessed enough and lucky enough to speak in so many countries and meet amazing people, amazing entrepreneurs in different countries. It's Spain, France, Morocco, Algeria, obviously the US and so many other countries. So this international experience really helped me understand the struggles that small businesses and startups face, worldwide. It's not just specific to one country. Obviously, the environment and the business owner's background and the environment where they do business impacts all of that. There are so many common things. The challenges are real and they're common, and the mistakes also. So this kind of background really helped me, have this good understanding, in my humble opinion, of those needs. What else? I write for a couple of magazines. I'm part of Forbes Business Council. I'm also in the board of two organizations where we help businesses. One of them, the IRF, We help businesses expand and, among other things, expand to the US and thrive. I'm also a mentor with SCORE, which is an organization for people who don't know about SCORE. It's a nonprofit backed by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. We're 10,000 mentors in the US. We help small businesses with all kind of, things that they might need. Like myself, digital marketing, it's setting up a business, it's, financial education, all kind of things through mentoring. I'm also with the PCV, Pacific Community Ventures, which is a nonprofit in San Francisco. Pretty much we do the same thing, except for PCV provides funding as well. So, I'm a mentor with Select USA for a while and a speaker. This is the highest, profile event in the US where we work on attracting FDI, foreign direct investments. Basically, my role is helping startups and businesses expand to the US through education, mentoring, sometimes speaking. That's really, really quickly it.
That's brilliant. And, I love the fact that you have worked across multiple industries, multiple countries, multiple companies. And so the first question that and you said it, you said the struggles worldwide are very similar. You see a lot of the same things. And so if you're going to maybe choose a handful of the struggles that you've seen, and ideally, obviously, if there's some case studies or some examples that you've got, there's always wonderful to sort of bring home what challenges people have seen and then sort of how then worked through some of those things. And we can obviously have a chat.
Yeah, some of the common things are, the pace technology is moving forward. Like with AI, for instance, it's exponentially growing. And we know that startups and small businesses, especially small businesses, are not necessarily equipped to kind of, keep up with the pace, because we know small business owners wear so many hats and they're usually doing so many things at the same time. So that's why usually I insist on digital education for leaders, because today it's AI and obviously it's not going anywhere. So we barely scratched the surface of what's possible. And then it's going to be in the future, blockchain. It's going to be the combination of both. It's going to be maybe the metaverse. We don't know. So digital education is something very important. So keeping up with the pace is one thing. Also, some, I would say skilled workforce shortage somehow, especially with the new technologies. And that's why, again, upskilling, reskilling, and also digital education, all those things are important. But now it's not for business leaders. It's also for the workforce. And obviously keeping this young workforce motivated, interested, and excited about the job, because that's another challenge as well. And also the lack of some type of framework, because, okay, everybody wants to digitize and mostly all businesses get it, right? We have to do that. We have to use those tools, but how? Where do we start? Sometimes it's a lack of time. Sometimes it's a lack of not really will, but budget. Sometimes it's misconceptions, right? So these are, I would say, really quickly the main challenges that I've seen companies face.
So, and I love the pace. It was 2 years ago, maybe ChatGPT was not ready anywhere, and then suddenly, bang! Now you got DeepSeek. Now you got the one from Elon Musk. It is forever changing. Now, digital education becomes then the centerpiece of being able to keep up. And have you found that there are particular tools, particular ways in which that people could possibly keep informed? Like, how best do they do that? Because, you also talked about blockchain. It's a constant thing of learning. Or is it just having the curiosity then drives you to be able to learn more, or joining councils? What is your take on it?
So I think staying curious and having, I would like to say, guided thinking. Basically, staying curious is a thing, but then there's so much out there, so many webinars, so many events, you name it, it's every day. And I know it's a lot for anyone to take, including myself, but because I would like to attend everything, right? But you only have so much time in the day. It's just not even 24 hours. So what I'm saying is basically staying curious, but also having this structured, guided thinking, in the sense that when I'm watching something, attending an event, obviously events are amazing, including in-person events. But then I need to have, in my humble opinion, have this structured way of thinking and what is it in there for me that I could use and implement in my business? And what I mean by that is, okay, if I'm watching a webinar about automation, right? That's a good investment of your time, by the way. And that's one of the best ways you can start, with baby steps, transforming your business. Basically thinking, okay, how can I automate what do I have, right? Very simply put, the tasks, mapping out the tasks. What is it that I can stop doing myself, or, having my team stop doing manually? Is there a way to, automate that? And there are so many great tools like Zapier, for instance. I'm not affiliated with Zapier or anything like that, but this is just an example, because you can start playing around with the tool for free and stuff like that. There are obviously other great tools out there. But what I'm saying is just this little portion of your business and of your processes, thinking about, okay, how can I automate that? Just a simple question. And then you start looking at your business in a different way, from a different angle, right? You're not adding new services yet. You're not doing anything, just trying to automate things and doing less manual work. That itself, I think, done in sprints and over time, especially, that's why I'm saying having this guided way of thinking and keeping in mind what's the goal of you attending. And again, that's one of the reasons why when I do webinars or workshops or whatever, including the one you attended, I love for the audience to walk away with something actionable that they can start trying immediately, because I want to be respectful of people's time, right? We don't want them to just attend something for the sake of wasting their time. So basically, to go back to your question, attending events and being curious out there with the background of, okay, how can I implement that to transform my business?
So the example of automation is wonderful, because I think, like you said, time is money. Time is everything. If you're able to then have a process that gets the result consistently with less chances of error potentially, and then by the time you're waking up 7 o'clock, bang, a lot of things are already done with half the people. That's a thing. I think that's the first amazing step. But then how does one plan for sort of on a wider scale? Because you could start with automation. Would you recommend that there should be a plan to start with? So I'm going to try to get to point X, or at least know your goal, and then you sort of plan it through. Do you just start? The key is to start. Which one of the two would you sort of champion?
Obviously, the key is to start, because if you start, you're already succeeding, right? The key is to start. And then you can do this in what we call sprints, right? Basically, start with something that is easy to, that's just my way of doing things. You will find so many other ways of doing it. None is wrong or right, but that's what I've seen work. And that's what I'm doing in my business. And I've done several times before. It's basically starting with the obvious, the simplest things, right? And that will encourage you to keep going, because that's like a quick win. And then this is going to encourage your team as well, because now they're seeing that this is working, and they see that, this portion of whatever it is that we were doing manually, now we're automating it. We don't have to do it anymore, right? So what else can we do? It gives you and your team the appetite of doing more.
So then, like you said, startup, an owner of the startup has got multiple hats that they wear. How do they then carve out the time to do a sprint? I mean, how do we now? And I know this is almost like an impossible question to ask, because that becomes the endless trap for somebody who's trying to move. How do you then get yourself to a window where you say, I'm going to do a sprint? And again, the sprint is probably the right way to approach it, because it's a very short space of time. So what is your take around somebody who's trying to manage that? The idea of running the business, but also doing a sprint.
So we all lack time, honestly, no matter where you are in your journey of growth, and we all lack time. There's not enough hours during the day to do whatever we want to do. So with that being said, I think time blocking is something that works in prioritizing things that, need your attention, even if the benefits are not immediate sometimes. But with automation, the benefits are immediate. That's why I think it's a good way to start with, because once you automate a task, next day, it's no longer part of the manual things that your people need to do. So it's like a quick win. To answer your question, it's, I think, time blocking. If you block like 20, 30 minutes a day, daily, and going about it with baby steps, it's better than, like focusing on the whole thing and think, okay, yes, there's not going to be enough time for you anyways. And the day is disrupted with so many things that need our attention. So time blocking, I think, might be a good way to start.
So what we've currently talked about kind of feels like a framework of approaching a problem, which happens to be the biggest struggle that you highlighted as an example. Is there anything else that you would say that would sit within that framework group that people could use as tools to be able to navigate through this digital age and be able to bring digital transformation to it?
So I think it's definitely about tools, but it's not just tools. I think people play a very important role. And when I say people, I'm talking about your team, obviously. And that's why earlier I was talking about digital education, not just for the leader, but for the team as well. Because if they don't believe in the mission, it's going to hold you back sometime, sooner or later, because not all the sprints are going to be successful. Not all things you're going to be trying to do are going to be successful. So you want to make sure that you have the support of your team, your people, and make sure they see the value in that. And on top of that, we talked only about automation in the digital transformation process. There's also rethinking your business model, adding new services. I don't know, for instance, if you're selling a product, now you can sell courses about how to take care of this product, how to, make the most out of this product, how to make your own, maybe. There are so many things so many ways for you to add digital income streams, additional income streams. And your people, your team can be a good source of ideas. So that's why you want to have them on board, not just to make sure that the process is moving forward, in a most seamless possible way, but also you want to listen to their ideas, because usually your team is working with your customers. They're the one doing the customer facing. They're the one doing some daily tasks that you're not doing. So their feedback might be even more valuable than some external consultant, or because they are the ones doing the daily, the work day in and day out.
Leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about adapting, inspiring, and leading with confidence in a fast-changing world. At Transformation Leader, we equip you with the skills to master self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Lead high-performing teams, navigate workplace dynamics, and drive real impact in your career and business. The future belongs to those who embrace change, future-proof your leadership, and take control of your success. Start your journey today. Sign up now at t4leader.com and become the leader the future demands.
And so I love that, because we talked about automation that sort of sits in-house to a large degree. And obviously automation can also be to the client, but then, and you said no new services at that point. All you're doing is just focusing on efficiency. But then the other thing then is, when you're rethinking your business model, it's then how then do you gain more value, additional revenue streams, and being able to enhance your service offering in a way that potentially could add to just the core that you've put forward. That's what I've understood from your last example. Is that right?
Yeah, to some extent. So the reason why I started with the example of automation is just like I said, it's easier to approach. So you have quick wins. And sometimes you can automate so small tasks, like making two of your software communicate, and all of a sudden you're not, importing Excel sheets and exporting. It can be as simple as that, but the most important thing for me is the mindset. If you have the mindset and you're intentional about eliminating as much as you can of the manual work, for instance, and then you're going to, over time, find a way to save time, obviously. But also, when you're building new services, when you're building new products, you're going to have that in the back of your head with your team, because you're not going to be doing the same mistakes you've done several years ago. Now you're building new services with the mindset of having as much as possible automated already. right? And it's just one aspect of digital transformation. Honestly, there's so much more into that. It's customer service. It's, like I said, new services. It's even disrupting what you're doing, or for instance, depending on that's what makes it a little bit tricky. Also, there's no one size, one size fits all type of strategy. If you're using prototyping, you could use 3D printing. You could so many other things. You know what I mean? So it's more about the mindset, and then implementing and trying and failing also, which is okay.
And that's what I was going to get to, the failing, because you said mistakes, right? So you said worldwide struggles, but then you get mistakes. What are some of, and I'd love to hear, I mean, obviously no company names, but I'd love to hear sort of a situation where you've walked in and you've seen what is a very common mistake in when somebody has started a journey towards becoming and implementing more digital tools. And then you see a mistake in the way that they've set it up. What would that be that you've seen maybe from some small to medium-sized enterprises? What example would you make?
So one example of a telco company actually where the mistake was not to involve their people enough, educate them enough. And the digital transformation strategy came from the management, the top management. And it was felt like a threat to the people. And then instead of being excited about the future and what's possible and things like that, people became afraid and scared of losing their jobs and things like that. You know what I mean? So there was a huge lack of preparation when it comes to explaining what this is about. And yes, things are going to change. And yes, this is okay. The lack of preparation was a terrible mistake, in my opinion. And then having this strategy coming from the top management. I mean, of course, main strategy is, and directions usually come from top management, but then it was just that. That's the problem. And kind of it undermined the whole project and process. And from there, it was like micro failures, delays, layoffs, people leaving, things like that. It became a little bit chaotic.
And so if I love that example, if you then have to say, what is the healthy way of actually doing something like that? If you were to just maybe give us a few tips around how you approach it typically when you're bringing forward this sort of change management towards a digital project.
So first of all, it's accepting that some things are going to fail. It's a new project. It's a huge project, but if it works or some of it works, it's so rewarding for everyone in the short term and even more in the longer term. So accepting that is already creating some safe environment, I would say, where people feel like it's okay to make mistakes and we're on this together. So I think embracing this mindset is really important, and not just saying it, like really making sure this is implemented so people feel like it's safe for them to make mistakes and then to come up with suggestions and ideas and be heard and all those things. Actually, it can bring an amazing dynamic to any organization. Obviously, each change comes with challenges. Some of your team members are not going to embrace that and are going to help you, and you probably have to make some decisions. But then I think the mindset, the approach is really important factor, and making sure this is a continuous process. It's not a project that you start and then you finish, probably some milestones, some phases, but then this is an ongoing thing because technology keeps evolving every day and there are new opportunities for the business every single day. So it's more of a change of mindset at the organization level, if you will. So that's one aspect. Obviously, the other thing that I've seen work is preparing for change and getting people excited about it. There are so many things that has nothing to do with, tools that you could be doing to inform people, to show them the potential benefits, to have them part of the process. That's the other thing. Also, digital education is a big deal because you cannot think about even including a technology when you're not aware of it. You don't know what it does. It's just some kind of black box. So having this habit of understanding, demystifying technology and asking why not? What if we think about integrating this? How about we stop doing this way or keep doing this the old way since it works so far, but then trying this other way in parallel and seeing maybe this is more efficient. Maybe, you know what I mean? It's really a process. And that's what makes digital transformation tricky a little bit. There's no one size fits all, in my opinion.
And I think your work then never gets boring because it is constantly trying to find that right balance, that right fit for any situation that presents itself. And so when talking about situations that present themselves, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you did say that you do some work associated towards foreign direct investment.
Yes, I work with companies and startups expanding to the US as well. Yes.
I'm very curious for, in terms of some tools, tips, advice that you always look out for or that could benefit people if they structured their projects, they structured their business, they structured the transformation in this way that will give them a significant benefit in being evaluated, in being able to move between markets and maybe even raising capital.
So since we're talking about digital transformation today, there are two aspects, right? The internal aspect, if you will, it's transforming your own business or startup, obviously, with those sprints and continually thinking of digitizing things and new income streams and everything we talked about. But there's another aspect also, if you're a startup, growing, you want to be a facilitator of that. You want to help. You want to think about ways for you to disrupt, the old ways of doing things. For instance, we're seeing a lot of new software. We're seeing a lot of new services that were not even thinkable like 10 years ago or so. And then these tools, a lot of them are very successful just because they help with this process of digital transformation. It's, for instance, software that help you apply for grants. Right? The old way, we know it. It takes a long time. You need to have very skilled people to do it. And these people are not everywhere, So one of the tools is helping you to do just that. So you can upskill your team. And then now you can add this income stream, which is RFPs and, answering RFPs and things like that. So this is just one way. What I'm saying here is, as a startup, use this digital transformation opportunity to offer new services that will help other businesses with their own digital transformation, right? And with AI, the use cases are just limitless. It's about finding the use cases, I think, at this point. And there are so many uses. If you're helping, if your target are law firms, there are so many ways you can help them with their digital transformation, CPAs, architects, you name it, you know what I mean? So there's another aspect to startups, which is finding this use case, this niche, this one need that will help you just blow it because you found this one little way to help this audience.
And what you said to me, what you've said right now is actually it struck a nerve because we sometimes get stuck in a way of working. We sometimes get very comfortable and just getting a little bit outside of, okay, there's this task and I don't have an answer. And maybe there's a tool out there that might be able to help me. I actually might have an answer and I might be able to provide a solution through a digital medium. Those are all things that, if we continue with a curious mind, are the opportunities that we could unlock, not only to gain grants, but also to be able to assist others within the industry as well. So I would like to hear one last thing because the time has moved and I'm curious to understand the work that you did in Tunisia with the 40 steps and just a little bit about what that looked like. What was some of the inspiring topics that actually sort of things that you saw from that, and maybe something that then people might be able to gain inspiration and motivation from.
So this is a program that me and my team implemented in Tunisia, and we're working with, other countries to implement exactly the same thing. We called it the Business Booster program. And what we did is basically through a selection process, obviously with the US Embassy in Tunisia, we selected a group of startups and business owners that are interested in growing their business and expanding internationally and expanding to the US. And then we kind of designed this program in a way where there's education, obviously, through a series of webinars. We had webinars about funding. We had and creative funding. It was one of the most successful ones. We had a webinar about scaling through digital transformation and technology and AI and all that. We had another one about, the value of building networks and relationships and communities. And I had a friend from, an ex-Meta and Instagram, and that presented, a very interesting, part of the workshop where she was talking about her own experience. Another friend of mine talked about creative funding and how you can use your IP to get funded and things like that. I had another amazing person from NASA GPL talking about how you could, as a startup, be involved and work with those big agencies through different programs like SBIR and other programs out there. And I myself presented another aspect about how you build your brand and get those first customers. I mean, this was the first part. It was a lot of education, and the feedback was just, overwhelmingly positive. Everyone saw the value in what was shared. Obviously, people need more, but that portion was extremely successful. And then we had an in-person event in Tunisia, and where they get to connect and directly with a US-based expert that traveled with me from the US region. That was a beautiful experience as well. Very successful. There is a community also on LinkedIn where we post continuously information and, to get people educated continuously, not just through the webinar. So these were the three portions of the program. And we're working on implementing something similar, with the other countries.
So, Ines, I've absolutely enjoyed having this discussion with you. And
thank you.
Not only have I learned so much about, number one, not being afraid and starting, but I think you've given a lot of insights to a lot of different things. So before I wrap this up, I'd like to maybe just give you an opportunity to say some final words. I don't know if you've got something that you maybe wanted to add. Please go for it.
Oh, absolutely. I'll just keep it simple. I'll say just for business owners and startups, just stay curious, think digital first, because if you have this kind of mindset, no matter what, is thrown at you out there, no matter what is the technology, you're going to be able to understand it. You're going to be able to incorporate it in your business, or at least test it and see if this is worth for you to use. And if this is going to help you get where you want to go faster and have this exponential growth that we all dream of. So stay curious, embrace failures also, right? That will be it. And if you guys want to continue the conversation, you have any questions or you want to collaborate or whatever, just ping me on LinkedIn. I know your team is going to share the LinkedIn handle. So yeah, I'll see you there.
That's absolutely beautiful. And the thing is, and I just want to summarize everything that we try to talk about, and I'll try to do it in like a minute, right? So my inspiration around this conversation is derived around the curiosity and the need and the desire to bring change. And I love the fact that you've touched many different countries, many different industries, many different companies. And in the end, you distilled that something down to three main and very common things. The first thing is that you see struggles worldwide. And within those struggles, you've got fast-paced moving, the skills, labor, and growth, the frameworks that people use. And the beauty about what you talked about is, let's keep it simple, let's keep it agile, and let's run certain things in smaller sprint, bite-sized chunks. And the example that you used was the automation. Automation using something like Zapier does not mean that you're adding something new to your product line, but really it brings efficiency forward. And you're not bringing a new service, but at the end of the day, you are becoming that much more efficient in delivering a service, whether within the business or to your customer. And for me, that is at the very least a start. And if you start your journey, that is where you want to be, because the idea of continuously moving is where the industry is and what we all need to be doing as well. Beyond that, you've also mentioned rethinking your business model, because at the end of the day, you need to be ensuring that your business is growing. You are rethinking, your mindset is strong, and you are embracing the changes that exist within the space. At the end of everything, digital education becomes the key towards success. And if we're not learning, we're not growing, not ourselves, but also the team members that we're part of, we do not see that transformation. And your example of the mistakes, where people essentially brought an idea from the top down, really makes and resonates to the idea of digital education for not only the leadership team, but everybody around. And being able to have the mindset that helps everybody grow along that journey. So you don't want anybody to be threatened. Nobody in this journey should feel like they are outside watching their entire way of working changing before their eyes. And preparing and being able to have people know that it's a safe space. You will make mistakes, but if you approach the mistakes in small chunks, in bite-sized steps, that becomes now the way in which you can actually propel your business into a space. Now, this conversation was about 30 minutes long, and it's nowhere near enough time. So what I would love to encourage, and the challenge that I pose to everybody who's listening right now, is click on the link below and carry on this conversation. Curiosity doesn't start by listening to a podcast. Curiosity starts by actually having an action. And the action that I challenge everybody is, let us continue this conversation, because we are not going to impact 1 million lives by 2026 by watching, but we'll only do it by making an action. And this action today is your first step towards digital transformation. So without any further ado, Ines, it's been an absolute pleasure having you today, and I have had such a blast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Transformation Leader. You can follow us at www.t4leader.com.